What is up, guys? It's Jacob from QuadHunting, and this is the bottom 5 Lions running back list. We did the top 5 earlier in the week, and now we're going to the worst Lions running back since 1966. And why 1966? Because that's when the Super Bowl was implemented, so I wanted to go with the Super Bowl era. 51 Super Bowls, 51 years that I can pick crappy players out of. So, the criteria, my grading criteria for why I put them as the worst. These are guys who mostly were drafted highly and expected big things out of, but for whatever reason were not able to produce. So, is it bad? Is it kind of brutal to call a guy who had a lot of injuries one of the worst Lions running backs since 1966? Maybe, but in my eyes, I mean, if you come in with high expectations, you better be able to produce, and these guys were not able to produce for whatever reason. So, we're not going to mess around too much. We're going to get started right now with number 5. Kevin Jones. Yeah, this is how this list is starting. Kevin Jones as the 5th worst running back since 1966. Well, the main reason is because he was drafted in the first round, 30th overall pick in 2004. He only managed to last 4 seasons with the team, and he killed it right off the bat, getting 1,000 yards his rookie year, and then after that, just that's pretty much his whole career. He was let go in 2007, signed with the Bears for 1 year, and then was out of football after that. So he managed in those 4 years to get just over 3,000 yards, 24 touchdowns. He held a decent 4-point rushing average, 141 receptions, 1,000 yards, and 3 touchdowns. I mean, for a guy who was drafted in the first round, it was supposed to be the missing piece. He was supposed to help rejuvenate the Lions' run game, help Joey Harrington out, and did none of that. So, for that reason, Kevin Jones, number 4. For that reason, Kevin Jones, number 5. Number 4 is a guy who was drafted way back in 1970. So, some of you older folks may remember him. You probably do because, yeah. Steve Owens. He was drafted in the first round, 16th pick in 1970. He managed to last till 1974, so just one more season than Kevin Jones. And he started out good. He had a decent career building there for a little bit, and then he had injuries just forced an early retirement. He had just injuries piling up. He managed 2,400 yards, 20 touchdowns, 3.86 rushing average, 99 receptions, 861 yards, and 2 touchdowns. If you're drafted in the first round and that's what you produce in 5 seasons, you're almost that's like 500 rushing yards a season. Yeah. So that's for that reason I have Steve Owens at number 4. Number 3 was another recent guy, drafted in 2011, Mikel LaShore. All right, Mikel LaShore he had to come in with just issues right off the bat. He was suspended, he had an injury, and then they was wondering if he was ever going to be back 100%, and he was back enough to get a decent amount of yards. He got it was like 700 and some yards in his rookie season, his second season in the NFL. He had a decent year. Was a Lions bell cow running back, but he never really built beyond that. He had it was 1 season and out. He managed to last 1 more season with the Lions, but he had 2 carries that season, so it was never something really big. He only finished his 3 years of the team, 800 rushing yards, 9 touchdowns, 3.7 average, 34 receptions, 214 yards. Does not scream the guy that we thought was going to be the Thunder to number 2's Lightning, Jahvid Best. Jahvid Best and Mikel LaShore, they were supposed to be you had Jahvid to be able to run fast and run. He was going to be the big play guy, and you had Mikel LaShore, who was just going to be the pounded out type guy. And both of them flamed out, sadly. Jahvid Best was drafted in the first round, 30th overall pick. Don't draft first round running backs anymore, Lions. Don't do it. In 2010. And why I have him above Mikel is we traded up to get him. We didn't have the 30th pick. We traded for it to get him so we could build our team better. He was supposed to help Matt Stafford out. He managed the last 3 years with the Lions. Pretty much played, I think, 3/4 of his first season, 5 games in the second season, and then none after that. He had terrible injuries. He came into the NFL with concussion issues already. suffered, I think he said, it was like 3 concussions in the NFL, and that last one was just the one that knocked him out of the NFL. The NFL would not reinstate him. He was too prone to concussions, and they didn't want any more brain damage. That's when the concussion lawsuits were really hitting hard, and the NFL didn't want to look bad by bringing Best back in. Over his career, 945 yards, 6 touchdowns, 3.7 yard average, 85 receptions, 774 yards. He was that great dual threat running back we wanted. 3 touchdowns there. But we will always have that Monday Night Football game, Lions' first Monday night game, where he had that 88-yard touchdown where he wasn't touched at all by any of the Bears players. That's probably still one of my favorite Lions plays since 2010. But he's not number 1, because number 1 goes to Lawrence Gaines. He was drafted the first round, 16th pick in 1976. He managed to last till 1979 with the team, so 4 years. The reason why he's above Best is because his production was bad. 4 years with the team, didn't even crack 900 rushing yards, 5 touchdowns, 3.8 rushing average, 25 receptions, 146 yards, 1 touchdown. So he wins the award for easily the most underwhelming, one of the worst picks in Lions history. That will be a video, by the way. We'll do a top 5 picks in Lions history and bottom 5 picks in Lions history. So Lawrence Gaines is making his case for one of the worst picks of all time. We got some dishonorable mentions, as always. These guys weren't terrible, but they came in with decently high expectations, and they kind of flamed out. The first dishonorable mention is Reggie Bush. He came in. He was the third running back in Lions history to run for, or third Lions running back since the year 2000 to run for 1,000 yards. He came in 2013. Expectations were high, beat 1,000 yards, and then the next season just tanked. Could hardly stay healthy. Lost a lot of playing time to Drake Bell, and then just the Lions cut him in a cost-saving move. 1,300 yards, 6 touchdowns, 4.35 yards carry. So it's one of the better yards per carry we've seen. And he was a good dual threat running back, 94 receptions in those 2 years, 759 yards, 3 touchdowns. But he wasn't able to produce. There's a reason why New Orleans didn't want him, and then why the Dolphins didn't want him, and then the Lions didn't want him, and now San Francisco didn't want him, and now he's with the Bills, and probably going to get cut from the Bills. So if you're a good running back, you don't bounce that much. The Texans look really smart for not drafting him and drafting Mario Williams instead. And then this guy's always been a personal favorite of mine, Kevin Smith. Didn't like him in the beginning, but when he came back after that Best got hurt, he kind of just lit it up again, proved why he was good enough to be a Lions running back and good enough to be an NFL running back as a whole. When he torched the Carolina Panthers, I think he had like 140 rushing yards, 70 receiving yards. He lit the Panthers up that year, or in that game. He was drafted in 2008 in the 3rd round, so that's another reason why he didn't get bumped really high up in the worst Lions running backs of all time. 2,346 yards, 17 touchdowns, just under 4 yards a carry, 123 receptions. He was also a good dual threat running back for just under 1,100 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns. The reason also he didn't get put in there is because he was drafted in the 3rd round. You don't expect the same thing out of a 3rd round running back that you do out of a 1st round running back. So Kevin Smith comes in at a dishonorable mention. And I didn't list any of the fullbacks like I did in the other video, because if they're not a good fullback, they usually only last one season, and it's not going to be that big of a... maybe Jerome Felton, but he ended up being at least decent, so I wasn't going to put him in the worst fullbacks of all time, because if you're a bad fullback, you don't really make a team, hardly. So, yeah, Lawrence Gaines, the worst Lions running back of all time. If you like the video, leave a like, subscribe to the channel. Let me know who I overrated, who I possibly could have also been going in this list. There's a lot of bad running backs. You could have put the whole 2016 Lions running back core, and they probably would have fit somewhere in this list. So, like the video, leave comments, tell me who I overrated, all that good fun stuff. Subscribe to the channel, keep up with these best and worst lists. I'm going to try to keep them steady. I'm going to try to roll with them more. And, yeah, I will see you guys for the worst and best wide receivers since 1966. And those ones, they're going to be really easy for me. I will see you guys then.